let's just hope that the games are a little bit closer this round.
Welcome back to the James and James Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And we are going to go over the divisional round preview. Now that we're getting into basically the end of the 2024-2025 season, there are going to be fewer and fewer games to cover and predict. So it's just kind of sad because it's almost about to end. That just means that there's more football next year.
This is true.
I'd hope.
And we just get to talk a little bit more in depth about each of these games.
This is true. I guess to start off then, why don't we just kick it off with whatever the heck is going to go over on at Arrowhead Stadium. We got the Houston Texans visiting the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. Shocker, I guess. I don't know. So what are we thinking?
I don't know. I'm concerned about this game because, as you saw in my power rankings, I have the Texans at the bottom, and I don't have the Chiefs like super high because, and they haven't been playing like super dominant football or anything. They were playing better going into the end of the regular season, but Texans also came out of last week feeling pretty good with a 20-point win. I mean, most teams had blowouts, so I guess that's not like super surprising, but it feels like a mismatch, and honestly, I don't really feel like I don't want any of these teams to move on. But I don't know. I feel like there's room for an upset here. We've talked about the idea of the Chiefs maybe dropping early this year or this season just because of the way they've played this year. Not that it was that they played bad, but because they played so many close games and lost so few that like maybe it's possible that they actually drop one of them, kind of like the Vikings that one year where they had what was it, 14, also had 14 wins like they did this year. I think it was 14 wins, like 14-3.
13,
And
I think.
13-4, whatever. But only their wins were only one score, but all their losses were like blowouts. Not that the Chiefs have been only blew out once, but it just seems everything is pointing towards a Chiefs win here, and I can understand that. And that's like I look at that saying, yeah, most likely, but I don't know. I'm definitely leaning in favor of the Chiefs, so that will be my pick. But I do think that if the defense of Houston can show up like they did last week, and the Texans on offense just do enough to take advantage of how their defense plays, and it's a lot of ifs, but if they can play complementary football, defense shows up like they did, and they can just get points. They don't need to be like amazing, but if they can just get the points, I think this is a team that has some momentum that could pull off an upset here. And again, I'm not saying that they're going to, but I think this could be a good game. Could be. But I'll stick with the Chiefs. I'm interested to see what your perspective on this game is.
I think I said this last week or at least a couple weeks ago, where I think the Chiefs are going to be on either side of the spectrum. They're going to win out or they get bounced the first round. There's no in between. I would like to have faith and believe in the Texans. So I will choose the Texans only because, like we mentioned before, Chiefs are just, they're not winning convincingly, especially against weaker opponents. I mean, Chiefs have just won every single game that they even care to win. So it'd be nice to see someone else win, I guess. So I'll cheer on the Texans. However, I would not be surprised if the Chiefs go all the way again. So
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing to look at with this game is both teams are pretty injured. I mean, Chiefs not necessarily lately, but have suffered injuries throughout the year, and they are a little battered, especially at that wide receiver position. The key is gonna be. I mean, they have a good roster. It just is the way it is, but they have weaknesses on that
yeah,
O line. It's going to be how much does Travis Kelce step up, because we saw it last year where we thought
yes,
he wasn't going to do anything because he hadn't most of the year, and then he came in. He played well. Mahomes played well. Pacheco did Pacheco things, and the defense was really good. And it
mm-hmm.
kind of looks pretty similar, I feel like, to this point where Travis hasn't done a lot. Mahomes hasn't played his best football this year so far. And they kind of just relied on the defense. But yeah, Pacheco back. Defense is still good. And it's the playoffs, so Reed, Mahomes, and Kelsey is kind of their prime time based off of the last, 5 years. So
Yup.
that's gonna be where it really stands. But D'Amico Ryan, C.J. Stroud, you're in your second year. How much have you stepped up, and how much are you gonna make a stand? Because this is kind of the point where you can, make a statement if you're a team to
Yeah.
fear going forward, or if you're just gonna be a solid playoff team versus a consistent Super Bowl contender. This is your chance to prove something, and I guess we'll see. But I'm gonna stick with the Chiefs. Just I I would feel silly going against Patrick Mahomes in this situation.
That's
So
fair.
we'll move
All
along though to
right.
the NFC divisional
Mm-hmm.
game with the Lions hosting the Commanders, and I feel like I'm gonna be rooting for a lot of underdogs this week,
Mm.
because I've mentioned, like, I'm not particularly like leaning either way as far as an NFC team goes. I'm pretty much fine with whoever makes it, because I have parts that I like about each team, you know.
That's
Uh,
fair.
but if I had to pick one team that I kind of am pulling for, and it helps that they're an underdog, it's kind of the Commanders, because again, I like the rebuild that they've done. I like what they've put together in the matter of 1 year. I like the offense. I like how Jaden Daniels has played. I've always liked Scary Terry, but I just like how that team has played like together as a unit, and that's what's gotten
Mm-hmm.
them there to this point. And it's just like not maybe as talked about, but I feel like just like a feel good story of just the whole team comes together, and that's how they've been winning games. And it's going to be a matter of not making those mistakes. You're going against Dan Campbell, where I mean, Dan Quinn kind of played that aggressive kind of football. He went for it however many times on fourth down. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a who has the bigger balls here between these two. But
Yeah.
I don't think the Commanders are built to really go toe to toe with the Lions. But I mean, I think they've been a dark horse team, and I think they remain a dark horse team that I wouldn't mind if they pulled off some upsets and worked their way there. It's been a while since we've seen a low seed really make a. Well, no, I guess that's not true because we had the Packers last year. Um,
I was about to say.
but I feel like someone's got to be a low seed who makes a run, and I think the only one who wasn't a home team in the first round. So I don't know. I'm pulling for the Commanders, but I won't be upset with the Lions if they win, and I'm going to go with the Lions because they got Montgomery back, and so they're even scarier than they were a few weeks ago, which was already a lot.
Fair. Yeah, I'm sticking with Detroit. Detroit's my pick for the NFC. Um, I want them to get to the Super Bowl at the very least. You know, at least be there for once. finally snap that Super Bowl less streak. Be really cool if they won it, but we'll see how they do. I mean, playing in Detroit is rough. You're playing against probably the best team in the NFL, fully healthy. So we'll see how they do, but Detroit has my pick. So
Yeah, it seems like an easy pick with how they've been like atop the league for pretty much the entire year. As far as like power rankings and stuff goes, I mean, obviously the Chiefs have been the winningest team I think all year. Um, But Lions, they've just been they're so well coached. They're while they are injured, they got that bye, so they get to get a little healthier, and now they're gonna be a little more like full strength, which is what they need because as scary as they were, I still don't think that the fully injured Lions would have been able to make a run. But now that they got that bye and they're a little bit healthier, they have a chance to run the gauntlet of
this is true.
even though it's running through Detroit, but like they got all the advantages they needed. They got the first round bye to get healthier. They're gonna be playing at home the entire time. It's just they're so much scarier than they were, and I think they needed to in order to really feel confident about them. Being a Super Bowl favorite here, but it's not an easy task because you still got the Eagles on the other side. So
That's true.
gotta get past the Commanders. What can Jaden Daniels do here?
Yeah.
God, if he can pull off an upset here, though, man is gonna have such a legacy.
Yeah, we'll see how well that legacy turns out, though.
Here's the question, though: how comparable is this Commanders team to the last year Texans? Because this kind of feels like Texans going against the Ravens last year.
Yeah, just a little bit. I can see it. I mean, we kind of compared them to the Texans before, so
yeah,
checks
and
out.
Lions with that super strong 1 seed coming in as like clear favorites over them. Kind of feels like, again, Ravens Texans last year did not go well for the Texans, so just an extra reason why I'll go with the Lions.
Valid. Now we get to move on to the Sunday games. We got the Los Angeles Rams visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. I am going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles, even though that last week was a little bit of a weird hump for that offense. But I think it was just the Packers defense was just really good. They played lights out for the most part, and I think the Eagles just had a bad day. I think they can definitely turn it around here. The Rams, while they do have a good defense, I don't know how good that Rams defense is against like top teams. So I'm curious to see what they do. I wouldn't mind an upset here. I would still go with Philadelphia, only because I just like that roster they put together on that defense as well. I'm curious to see how Mitchell, DeJean, Carter, all those defensive players in the Eagles face up against Stafford, Nakua, Cup, and all those players. So I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think this could be kind of. I mean, again, it's playoffs. I think everything is like expected to it's either expected to be a good game, or if it's not, it could easily be a sneaky good game because it's playoffs. I mean, anyone here can win a game, but
anyone can.
This is a game that I look at with, again, concerns with Philadelphia and the way Los Angeles has come in. Could be potential like good underdogs, but I'm gonna stick with the Eagles, and that is purely going to be because of just how much belief I have in that defense. Rams defense has been good, but you're going against Saquon Barkley, which is just kind of going to be tough to completely stop him and mitigate him. But again, it's tough to pick between these two just because of how hot the Rams have been, like how hot Sean McVay has been with that team, how well Jared Verse has played in that entire defense. But wait, you addressed the important side of the ball, which is how good that young defense of the Eagles is, and how they're going to match up with a talented Rams offense is going to look. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's just so much advantage given to the Eagles here. Um, I think their offense can be good enough to work on that defense. Again, Rams have a lot of youth, and they've been playing pretty well together, but it's not been like necessarily complete football in the sense that like not all offense, not all defense. It's kind of just one or the other. It looked good the
Mm-hmm.
past few weeks. Well, on count week 18, but another thing that also I'm throwing in there is a reason why I'm leaning towards the Eagles is this is a home game for the Eagles. Just
Mm-hmm.
home games in the playoffs never fun, but then you have to take the fact that you're going from California or wherever they're flying out of, and you have to go all the way to Philly. It's a big difference between going
They were
from
in
like
Arizona.
going to Arizona, or if they were to like play the 49ers, all you have to do is go up. Like you're not going that far away. This is a pretty big trip, so that's gonna also throw them off. So I think there's a lot that leans in the Eagles' favor here, which is why I'm gonna go with them. But I can definitely see a world where Matthew Stafford tries to make another magnificent run, and yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm excited. I'm excited for honestly all these games except the Chiefs game, where I'm just like, I don't really want to be there, but
Yeah, that's just how it is.
but
Um,
get into
yeah.
the game of the weekend, as it is the Sunday night game. Also, the
Mm-hmm.
closest as far as like betting odds and everything goes, because every other
Yeah.
game, the home team was at least 6 point advantage. But this actually has Baltimore as a 1 point favorite, even though they're the away team. So interesting. This one kind of
Yeah.
seems to be a 50-50.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one because it just kind of depends on how the Bills stop the run game and how the Ravens figure out how to cover Allen and his receivers. Because if you can't get to Josh Allen before he starts taking off or chucking the ball 50 yards down the field, you're not going to win. If you can't stop Derrick Henry and his run game and Lamar Jackson just scrambling all over the place, then you're not going to win. So it's just a matter of how they're going to approach these players and how they're going to cover them or stop them wherever they can. And obviously, a lot of these plays are probably going to be bang, bang, bang. Like they're going to be real fast. If not, then I'm going to be a little surprised. Um, I am. I'm going to be choosing the Bills to win this game only because I think it's fair that if the Bills make it to the conference championship, that they might actually win it. Also depends if the Chiefs make it, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind the Ravens making it as well. I just have a preferability over the Bills because the Bills have never won a Super Bowl. So that's
That's fair.
literally just it.
And like I mentioned, like I have a lot of respect for the Bills as like as a Ravens fan and
Mm-hmm.
all, uh, and even though like going into this Sunday, it's gonna be like I hate your guts, Buffalo. Whoever wins this game, even if it's not Baltimore, if it's Buffalo comes out with a win, I'm rooting for them to be the AFC representative because I don't really want to see the Texans or the Chiefs. Texans, but like this year, no. But and if it's the Chiefs, definitely no. So whoever it is, they're gonna be
Yeah.
the team that I root for from the AFC to make it. Um, yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. Buffalo gets they played earlier in the year. Baltimore kind of steamrolled them, but Buffalo gets to have home field advantage this time. The upper hand. Both teams coming off of pretty dominant wins where they didn't even need to play a complete game. You know, they dominated for a bit and then kind of just eased off. They did it at different points in the game, but it's both had pretty dominant wins over not so great competition in that game. I feel like they feel like very similar teams, just momentum and the way they're playing. Obviously, very different style of football. They're playing completely differently, but just the momentum, the energy that's coming into it. I hope it's a really good game. That's really all I hope for. I am gonna go with Baltimore because, obviously Ravens fan, but also they won earlier in the year and they did it pretty dominantly. This is a different Bills team that you're seeing in this game compared to what we saw at that point in the year where they kind of had that little kind of mini slump. I mean, they didn't lose many games, but they just didn't look as good as they do now. But you still look at this game and you still feel pretty good about, the matchup of Derrick Henry versus that run defense, which hasn't been great this year. There's concerns about the Ravens' pass defense versus Josh Allen, but they mitigated him pretty well earlier in the year. And it's just going to be how much can the Ravens keep that outcome similar and how much can the Bills change that outcome from earlier in the year. I'm nervous for it because I think this is it's the first game in quite some time where I actually feel concerned. Like, I'm not super certain that the advantage really tips towards Baltimore, or that there really isn't an advantage for Baltimore, or it's more of a 50-50 or less in Baltimore's favor. And so I will still go with my Ravens because what kind of fan am I if I don't? But I think they can do it. I think that there's enough pointing in their direction that it's not completely misplaced belief, but I definitely have to argue more for it than weeks past. So we'll see how this game goes. Again, I'm still super excited for it. I just hope that I just hope it's not as disappointing as when we played the Chiefs last year, because I don't think I can handle that again. If we go out and at least make it a good showing and we lose, it'll be a tough pill to swallow, but I'll take it.
For sure.
That's what I'll say. But I'll also take a win. That'd be nice too. Either way.
Yeah, a win's a win.
A win is a win. So
a win is a win. I'm curious though. If for some reason the Bills do win this game, do you still think Lamar should win MVP, or do you think Josh Allen should get it over Lamar?
This is such a tough question, because Josh Allen has played very well this year. This is a career year for him, and they've played so well. And it was coming off of a year where they were expected to take a step back. They step up and play really well, and you're looking like a favorite in the AFC yet again, which is just ridiculous. But it also is coming off of a year where Lamar honestly looks the best he has in his career, and that's saying a lot because you look at his past and he's had some. I mean, last year's MVP was, whatever, but his first one it was unanimous. It was a unanimous vote. He won that
It was pretty much sold
so easily. But this year he's doing it as a passer as well. He's not running it as much. Like before, it was just because he's such an electric player, no one can stop him. Now he's doing everything, including passing the ball, and he's doing it well. He's got ridiculous numbers as a quarterback. His stats are ridiculous. He's super low on turnovers. He's been making so many plays. He's had games where he's won them the game, where it's just I don't think I can be mad with whoever wins it. It'll be a bummer. It'll be a bummer either way, because again, both are playing so well, both deserve it.
For sure.
And
yeah. I kind of have to agree with you that it's just kind of a 50-50 between the two of them. I wouldn't mind either of them winning it. I don't know. It's just no matter what, the stereotype of, oh, they just can't win the big games will fall onto one of these quarterbacks. And it sucks because they're really good, but I know they can win the big games. It's just they unfortunately have to play against each other.
Yeah, if this could have been
the
the
conference championship.
if this could have been the AFC championship, that would have been amazing. That would have been so much fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah. This
no,
would
I
have been
mean,
amazing.
yeah, it's a situation of like, honestly, if the winner of this game was the one who won MVP, I wouldn't be mad, even if it goes against Lamar. Because if Lamar loses, it's maybe like he got it last year and maybe it wasn't the most deserved. It was just kind of a down year and he just kind of got it because it was like, he played pretty well.
Yeah.
Even though like again this year, I definitely think he does deserve it, but also again so does Josh Allen. And then if Lamar ends up winning it, I'll look at it and just be like, I'm happy because that's my guy and I support him and I love him as my quarterback. Again, it'll still be bittersweet on the end of like Josh Allen also should have had that and he doesn't have one, and so it'd also be nice to just see him get one. Either way, there's there's pros and cons. The one thing that I will say that could be very interesting. It rarely happens, and I feel like you won't like this just because of what I know about you, but I'd be curious to see what you think about the idea of these two tying and sharing the MVP.
I'm actually not as opposed to that idea as you would think. I actually wouldn't mind a tied MVP.
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of open for that because there have been several players this year who I think deserve the MVP. It's just really hard to choose who gets it because it's just you have Lamar, you have Allen, you have Saquon Barkley, you have a bunch of other players from other several teams that have just been going lights out and everything. I just don't know who to give it to. So honestly, this year I would not be offended by really who gets it, because there's a lot of players who deserve it, and I wouldn't mind a tie. So,
yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of there are fan bases that are going to be butthurt. There are going to be people that are butthurt because
it's not my player.
It's not even just not my player, but there are going to be people who just have different views on it. Some people will think Josh Allen, some people will think Lamar, and more likely than not, it's not going to end in a tie. And if it ends in a tie, there are going to be people that are upset that it should have gone one way or the other. There are just people who are upset, regardless of what happens. But I think again, it's just going to be someone's going to be upset because both they're both playing at a level where they could deserve it. But more likely than not, only one's going to win. If it is a tie, that'd be super cool, and I'd love to call that. That'd be super funny.
It'd be the first one since 2003.
2003 was that when it was?
I think that's what it was. The last time we had a dual MVP award. I don't remember who won it, but I know that was a thing. I believe it is 2003. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it, and it'd be really cool to see multiple guys win it. Obviously, if it's just one person, I don't really mind who wins it because Lamar kind of deserves it. Josh Allen kind of deserves it. Saquon Barkley kind of deserves it. And so do a bunch of other players kind of deserve it. So it's just like, obviously I have preferences, but I don't mind as much as I did like the last few years.
So. Yeah, I don't even think I have a preference because again, I'm also someone who's like, I don't like seeing the same people win stuff, and as much as I love Lamar, it's just like he's gotten it. Like I don't think he needs a third, but it's also he's playing at such an amazing level where it's like, but then
kind of deserves it.
I could argue that he may like last year's was his retribution for this year's. So,
you don't. I guess you just don't want to turn it. You don't want him to turn into an Aaron Rodgers situation where he just constantly wins MVP but never wins the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely would rather him win the Super Bowl than anything. If Lamar loses the MVP but wins the Super Bowl, I'm like, he can have it. He can have the MVP. I'll take the Super Bowl. Win-win. Win-win for me.
Yeah.
You know? Fine with that.
Yeah.
Either way.
It's okay.
It's just, again, these two are my team from. These two are the teams to root for from the AFC. It's going to be Baltimore then Buffalo in my book. But whoever I hope makes the Super Bowl, and then NFC is basically, it can be kind of anyone. Philly is probably the most concerning if they win the Super Bowl, but
Yeah, just a little.
I'll be happy for Saquon, and I also like Cooper DeJean and some of those other young guys. Like, I like some of the people on the team, but God, Philly scares me.
I like the team. I don't like the fan base. That's usually how I feel about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that's fair. But
I try to separate people. I just try to separate those aspects as much as I can, but it's kind of hard to do that. It's Philadelphia. You kind of have a notorious stereotype for Philadelphia. So, but yeah, that kind of wraps everything up, honestly.
Well, looks like that's. I mean, we've done our rambling, and we're.
Yeah.
I think just ready for
There's
these
not
games.
enough to ramble about.
We'll just have to see. We have some differences, but either way, just excited. We're 1 week closer to the Super Bowl. The
This
big
is
finale.
True. We got the conference championships after the divisional round, then the Pro Bowl, and then the Super Bowl.
We're almost there.
So after this week, only 3 more weeks. It's kind of crazy. And then we go into off-season stuff, which is even more crazy. I don't know how I feel about that, but we're getting there. So, yeah. So, thank you all for joining us on this little ramble about a preview into the divisional rounds. Yeah, I'm excited. I know Will's excited because his team is in the playoffs. So
Let's go.
We're kind of looking forward to seeing what happens, and obviously we have preferences, but honestly, this year, this has been a pretty good year, I'd say, for football overall. So I'm curious to see how it ends. And also, thank you for all the support that we've had so far this season, and just from live streams to podcast episodes to literally anything else. We appreciate you guys, and we love the support. So, yeah. If you don't have anything else, then I guess we'll just cut it off here and get ready for the divisional round.
Yeah,
which will
sounds
be at
good to me.
5:30.
Or a little bit
5:30.
earlier. It's gonna be earlier, but
It's 5:30, guys.
that's about all we got. So, we'll
All right.
see you next time.
Well, yeah. See ya.
Bye.